Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? It's Matt from YoVideogames. Recently, there's been a lot of debate over the recent builds of Street Fighter V and its changes to tone down the sexualization of characters, particularly in camera angles. Max recently posted a video about this, and frankly, he shares a lot of my sentiment. Now, I was originally going to just talk about Street Fighter V, but another game that I am particularly interested in has also had a series of changes to tone down its sexuality. Sort of. And that is Xenoblade X. But before I get into that though, let's talk about Street Fighter V. Two of the biggest changes come from its two most revealing characters, Cammy and Armika, specifically regarding their intro and super moves, where the camera originally showed pretty close shots of their crotch and ass respectively. Now, without warning or explanation, the latest builds place the camera just out of the way of seeing the character's goods, as it were. While I have no doubt Capcom would have loved for this tidbit to have gone unnoticed for as long as possible, it did not. And much like Max has said, this was the wrong way to go about it. We will probably never get an explanation as to why this is happening, but from my experience, this probably wasn't a call Capcom made themselves. Either Sony might have made a request for this, since it is representing a product they are heavily involved with promoting, especially to a young esports crowd, or most likely the ESRB could have been putting pressure on them for an M rating. This actually would not be the first time they have threatened an M rating over a fighting game. While it is completely understandable for Capcom to want to avoid the dreaded M rating on Street Fighter, this was again the wrong way to go about it. Had the game never had these teasing shots to begin with, this would be a non-issue. However, now it is actively removing something from the game that once was. Rather than just repeat everything Max has said though, let me offer my examples on how to fix it. Looking at the PC community of Street Fighter IV, one of the coolest things you can do is custom modifications to costumes. Now, it doesn't change the hitboxes or anything gameplay-wise, but it lets you alter the look of your character you have chosen, and most importantly, it is only reflected on your screen. Capcom could and should take a note from this and create a sexy DLC package. Call it a director's cut DLC, if you will. The idea being that it would glorify every character's sexuality, but only on your screen, of course. People playing against you would see the normal default intros and camera angles, and you would get the sexy versions on your screen. Now, immediate arguments against this would be that such DLC would change the rating, which might be true, but I ask, is that really a problem? Requiring owners of the game to go online and enter credit card information or age gating hardly seems like a hard problem to overcome. And if you think no because of tournaments, you clearly haven't noticed DLC being banned from fighting game tournaments all the time. Having a director's cut DLC would both serve people who enjoy the sexual aspect of these extremely sexual characters, and going further, I would make it so that every character gets a super sexy costume and extra sexy poses and animations. Yes, this includes the guys, because it is always better to be inclusive rather than excluding. I'm not demanding these characters be naked. The PC mods will take care of that. But Capcom can and should use the advent of DLC for something good for once, and let the adult fans that enjoy the celebration of the human body have a little something extra to enjoy. Removing is almost never the way to go. Instead of taking away, Capcom should look at how to include both people who enjoy cheesecake and beefcake in their games about people punching each other in the face, as well as those who just want to focus on fighting. Now, moving on to another game that has taken issue with character sexuality is Xenoblade X, Nintendo's giant open-world RPG that they have barely done anything to excite people for on its North American launch. Now, when it became known that Nintendo of America was going to handle localization this time instead of Europe, there was some general unease amongst the hardcore fans like myself. And while they have included an option to have Shulk and Fiora's voice actors for your avatar, it appears the other fears were pretty founded. Besides just the softening of philosophical and religious themes that the Xeno series is known for, Nintendo of America has also gone after the more sexual aspects of the title as well. The first discovery was not one that bothered me. A female party member called Lynn in the original game could wear any female clothing attire. The problem with this was that Lynn was 13. Now, Nintendo of America has changed this to 15 like it makes a difference, but more importantly, they removed the ability for Lynn to equip the super skimpy outfits. It's not exactly censorship here in my mind, as it was just programming laziness on the original part. I'm sure Monolith Soft was aware of Lyn being female meant she could equip skimpy outfits, but they didn't take any extra time to change that. Probably for the reasons that a chunk of the fanbase in Japan wouldn't have a problem with a sexualized 13-year-old and probably would even enjoy it, as gross as that is. But a recent discovery has been found in the character creator for female characters, and this is a much more important than skimpy outfits. The English release of Xenoblade X does not allow you to change the size of female characters' breast size. Now, the obvious reaction is that Nintendo is scared of big boobs, and this is just Nintendo being Nintendo and being super family friendly. However, this is a much bigger deal than some may realize. In Xenoblade X, you create a character completely from scratch, much like many Western RPG games. The idea being to put yourself in the game, of course. But now Nintendo of America has stated that only mid-range breast-sized females can exist in their version of the game. This overlooks and is downright ignorant of both female gamers and females in general. By trying to stay politically correct, Nintendo has trivialized a very real part of being a woman. Many women go through life dealing with insecurities placed upon them due to a smaller chest size and being perceived as not having a normal size. Now Nintendo has basically stated in their game, in their world, what normal is, a mid-range breast size, and you can't make a female any longer that reflects you or your body type, because everyone in the English build of Xenoblade X has the same breast size. Some women embrace having smaller or larger breast sizes, but Nintendo of America has basically shut those people out of recreating themselves in their game. The worst part is that the breast slider wasn't even that ridiculous, at least by anime standards. But again, the real problem is not that Nintendo took something silly and lewd away from perverts, but trivialized a very real part of life for many female gamers, and has said that you can only play as a girl in our world so long as you look like this. In trying to be progressive, Nintendo of America has instead taken a step backwards, and because of the title getting absolutely buried in the holiday rush, nobody will notice or care, and Nintendo of America will get away with it. And that's a damn shame. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes!